Madam Speaker, in the education sector, reforming and improving all aspects of our education system has been the single most important undertaking of the government over the last few years. We have created truly free public education for the first time, increased teacher salaries, and put our children at the center of our efforts. This year, we will do the hard work of repairing and rebuilding our schools and school buildings in large parts of the country. We must also move ahead with the work of classroom education. We have increased salaries, Madam Speaker, in the 2016-2017 budget for teachers of early childhood education at a total cost of $6.8 million. Many of these teachers, Madam Speaker, were very much underpaid. There was no recognition of teachers who had degree qualifications in early childhood education. Some had diploma and some were just simply trained on the job. There will now be a demarcation and recognition given for that. These are the teachers, Madam Speaker, who set the patterns for learning in our children's lives, and they are vital. We've also increased grants to the schools, early childhood schools, Madam Speaker, by 33%, because $50 per child grants were given for 3 terms, will now be given for 3 terms instead of the current 2. So we'll now give $50 per term for 3 terms. Previously we were only giving $50 for 2 terms. And in some schools, Madam Speaker, because the teachers weren't paid well, the $50 that was allocated for the child, they were using some of that money to pay for the teachers. Now they will not have to do that because the teachers will be given a full salary and the $50 will be utilized fully for the students. Madam Speaker, and when high school students are ready to graduate, they will find, Madam Speaker, in the 2016-2017 budget allocation, 30 more scholarships available under the TOPIS scheme at a cost of $630,000 additional. Madam Speaker, while we need our young people to study engineering, ocean science, biology, and other scientific and technical subjects, such as land surveying, town planning, we want to also, and which we want to encourage as much as possible, the increase in toppers will give greater accessibility to other areas of study which students want. The Fiji National University, Madam Speaker, will continue its physical and curricular expansion. It will receive an increased capital grant of $6.5 million to begin work on its new campus in Lambasa, which will open new opportunities for the young people in the north. It will also receive capital grants of $4.7 million for a veterinary laboratory and $2.5 million for the Fiji Maritime Academy for its building. Its operating grant is increased from $36 million to $45 million to attract top lecturers as well as full-time and adjunct faculties, which will increase recognition and raise the value of the FNU degree in Fiji and beyond. And this is one of the issues that we need to ensure that the quality and accreditation remains to international standard. Madam Speaker, we are also happy to announce that FNU from the middle of next year will begin to offer graduate medical programs for those who have already done a science degree. For example, a pharmacist who may be practicing as a pharmacist and may want to go back and get cross credits for the studies that they have done, or a person who may have done dentistry, to be able to get cross credits and then be able to get an MBBS, and that there's a recognition of those degrees that they've committed or carried out previously, Madam Speaker. This, of course, Madam Speaker, will increase the pool of doctors that will be made available to our medical system and beyond. Madam Speaker, employment and job creation. Madam Speaker, we will revise the employment taxation scheme to increase the tax deduction on wages paid to first full-time employees from 150% to 200%. This is to encourage employers to hire young people, women and others who may be entering the labor force for the first time. So essentially, whatever wages they pay, they must pay the minimum wage applicable to that sector. They will be able to claim that wage as a 200% rate as a tax deduction. We are also proposing, Madam Speaker, a new scheme, also a 200% tax deduction on wages paid to students under 2 different scenarios. One would be on job placement. That is part of a course requirement for a student for up to 6 months in the year before graduation. This is to bring employers into the education process and give students an opportunity to apply their learning and perhaps get a leg up on the first job. So there are some courses, Madam Speaker, that require you to do some practicals before you actually graduate. If they find a job to do their practicals, Madam Speaker, the salaries that they receive, their employer can claim a 200% tax deduction. There are some courses, Madam Speaker, where you have to do some work, some employment, some practical work during the course of your degree or certificate or diploma. They will also be able to claim the 200% tax deduction. We've got another step, Madam Speaker, and there may be students, for example, their course may not require them to do any practicals, but even then, if they do work part-time whilst they're studying, their employers will also be able to claim a 200% tax deduction for up to 3 months. So to take a scenario, if a person may be studying a degree course, say at USP or FNU, and if they are, for example, studying accounting, they may not have lectures 2 days in a week, and they find part-time work in an accounting firm, they will get paid, and of course that salary that they get paid, the employer will be able to claim that as a 200% tax deduction. This will encourage, Madam Speaker, our students to go out and to look for work. This will encourage employers to give work. It will also mean at the end of their studies, these students will be able to say that they have job experience, which will make them better placed to get full-time employment. Madam Speaker, we will also encourage employers, Madam Speaker, to provide what we call in-service education to the employees by increasing the tax deduction from 100% to 150%. So if I'm working for somebody and they think that I need to go and be better qualified and still continue to work for them, if they pay for my diploma, if it's $2,000, they can then claim that as a 150% tax deduction when they file their tax returns. This will also encourage them to do so. They will be able to get an employee who is better qualified, get better output, and we have an individual, a Fijian student or Fijian employee who will be much better qualified. Madam Speaker, we are also pleased to report that we have allocated $1 million contribution to build a world-class pilot training academy with 2 full-flight simulators in Nandi by the end of July of 2017. Madam Speaker, this is some work that has been going on behind the scene, and this is a partnership between Fiji Airways, Airbus and Boeing, and the simulator company CAE. It may well be that FNPF may join them as a shareholder. It will offer, Madam Speaker, this flight simulator course, introductory training on Airbus A330 and Boeing 737 full flight simulators, Madam Speaker. FNU, Madam Speaker, will be invited to partner with the Fiji Pilot Training Academy to offer undergraduate and advanced degree program for pilots as with universities elsewhere in the world. FNU already, Madam Speaker, has a small campus in Nandi which does some form of aircraft engineering. And this will be a perfect opportunity for our students to be able to piggyback on this international flight center, training center that we intend to set up and which we expect to be fully operational by the end of 2017 calendar year. Madam Speaker, we want international cadet pilots to begin the training here. There are many pilots going from Australia, from African countries to Singapore. There's an opportunity for them to come to Fiji. Our hotel rates are much cheaper than Singapore. We are a lot more competitive, so there's no reason as to why they cannot come to Fiji. And by having Airbus and Boeing partner with us in this particular project, obviously it gives us that international recognition. Madam Speaker, we expect the Academy to inspire young Fijians to pursue a career in the civil aviation industry, Madam Speaker. And we also expect international airlines to send their pilots to Fiji for their compulsory simulator training. Sugar, Madam Speaker. The impending end of the European Union sugar subsidy at the end of 2017 has caused some anxiety in the sugar sector. However, government is on top of this matter, Madam Speaker. Indeed, government is closely monitoring how challenges and opportunities in the sugarcane industry has been again politicized in the back of the 2 sugar bills before Parliament. Government will continue, however, to focus on its work. Government will continue the fertilizer subsidy with an allocation of $9.7 million. Upgrade Cane Access Road at a cost of $3 million, and increase the allocation for the very successful Sugarcane Development and Farmer Assistance Program up to $11 million. Government will continue with the digital mapping of the sugar sector, Madam Speaker, using GPS in order to develop better statistics at a cost of $600,000. Madam Speaker, government is a solution driver and remains positive. It is a pledge to look after the interests of the sugarcane farmers and their well-being, and we are very much focused on that. Madam Speaker, state assets and services. Improving the quality of essential state services and making them more accessible, easier to use for all Fijians, and more resilient in the face of natural disasters is one of the government's long-term commitments, and the 2016-2017 budget continues this effort. It is important to decentralize government services so that people can use them without having to travel long distances. Madam Speaker, this may seem self-evident, but we can tell you it wasn't always the case. A few years ago, about 3-4 years ago, we opened new BDM offices and formed BDM mobile teams. This is birth, deaths and marriages. And then we launched a campaign to encourage people to register. And we got an astonishing 70,000 Fijians who weren't registered. You may recall this, Madam Speaker, in your previous role. People simply had not reported births, deaths and marriages. We had people who were 65 years old who did not have a birth certificate because it was too much of an ordeal and too expensive to make the long trip to Suva or Lautoka and maybe Lambasa. Government is moving its services to where the people are because it simply makes sense, Madam Speaker. We will establish new offices, refurbish existing offices and upgrade special equipment in offices throughout the country. Priority will be given to improving public health, particularly maternal care, reducing crime and increasing access to courts, decentralizing immigration and other vital services, developing sports facilities and institutions, restoring services to sectors like agriculture and fisheries, and protecting Fijian heritage sites. And Madam Speaker, as I mentioned, the BDM offices, we will in the 2016-2017 fiscal year establish 4 new ones in Nambualu, Navua, Korovo and Singatoka at a cost of $244,000. Madam Speaker, legal aid services throughout Fiji have shown their value and empowers ordinary Fijians and will receive a funding of $5 million. Madam Speaker, just to put into perspective, the Legal Aid Commission, which commenced or was created in 1998, right up till 2008, had only 3 legal aid offices in Fiji, Suva, Lautoka and Lambasa, the whole of those 10 years. From 2008, Madam Speaker, government has continued to increase allocation to the Legal Aid Commission. As a result, we now have offices in Nasinu, Navua, Singatoka, Nandi, Ba, Rakiraki, Korovo, Nosori and Sabsaba. All of this in the last 8 years since 2008. And in this coming fiscal year, Madam Speaker, we intend to open more legal aid offices in Taviuni, Rotuma, Levuka, Nambualu and Kandavu, making it a total of 18 offices throughout Fiji, providing greater access to justice to ordinary Fijians, and in particular the most vulnerable and those on low income. Madam Speaker, major expenditures to improve access and quality of healthcare services include $13.4 million to complete construction of the new Ba Hospital, $4.1 million to complete construction of the new Naulu Health Center in Nosori, $2 million to upgrade the Rotuma Health Center, $3 million to extend the Colonial War Memorial Hospital Maternity Unit, $2.3 million to complete the low-risk Makoi Maternity Unit, and $6.3 million, Madam Speaker, to upgrade the Kayasi Health Center to a sub-divisional hospital. The people in the interior of the hills in Navosa, Madam Speaker, need a sub-divisional hospital, and they will get one in this fiscal year. In the interest of bringing the judiciary closer to the people and preserving law and order, Madam Speaker, preparatory works will begin for the new Nasinu Magistrates Court and Lautoka High Court in the upcoming fiscal year. Construction of the new Ba Magistrates Court will also be completed, and upgrades of the Magistrates Courts in Taviuni, Nambualu and Tavua will be undertaken. We will create 2 new labour tribunals, one to be permanently based in Nandi, as at the moment there's only 2 labour tribunals, both of them are placed in Suva. So one will now be based in Nandi, and the other one, Madam Speaker, will be a mobile tribunal. So it can go up to Vanuatu, it can go up to Ra, Tavua, Ba, and other parts of Fiji or Lau, where there may be employer-employee grievances that need to be dealt with efficiently, and they will travel into those places, Madam Speaker. This, Madam Speaker, will help clear the backlog of cases surrounding employer-employee grievances. The tribunal will come under the magistracy once we enact amendments to the relevant laws, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, works will also include the construction of the new remand centre at a cost of $4 million and the new women's correctional facility, both of them in Lautoka, for $1.4 million, which are set for completion in the upcoming fiscal year. An additional $1 million has been allocated, Madam Speaker, for the new staffing requirements for the new facilities in Lautoka. Madam Speaker, to increase police presence and shorten response times in the heavily populated Nasinu corridor, a total of $2.85 million is allocated to construct the Valley Level Police Station and to begin preparatory works on a new police station in Nakasi. Work will begin in the new fiscal year on a new police station in Lautoka at a cost of $1 million. And upgrade works will also commence in the Nandi police station and others as need arises. The construction of all new police stations, Madam Speaker, will now be standardized. Also, Madam Speaker, through the government's leasing vehicle program, the police force in the next few weeks will have a full complement of vehicles, so response times and the morale in the police force again will be uplifted, Madam Speaker. An allocation of $7.5 million, Madam Speaker, is provided to the Fiji military forces, which has been playing a pivotal role, Madam Speaker, in the recovery and rehabilitation efforts to build capacity and upgrade military facilities and the procurement of specialized vehicles. Madam Speaker, we have directed our attention to those Fijians in the Lamy-Suva-Nosori corridor who cremate their loved ones, mostly our Hindu brothers and sisters. And up to now, Madam Speaker, they have had no decent place to cast the ashes of their loved ones in the sea as part of the funeral rituals. We have allocated funds to build a ghat, or a walkway, to the sea that would give them a quiet and dignified site where they can perform the sacred funeral ritual of casting the ashes of their loved ones into the sea. Government maintains cemeteries, Madam Speaker, through the correction services. And it is a matter of fairness as well as respect that we provide such a site for which we will spend $100,000, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we will continue to fund municipal council initiatives such as markets through the Challenge Fund, including the completion of this wonderful Albert Park that we see outside this building, and providing a clean image of our new towns and cities. For example, Madam Speaker, in the next year's budget, we'll be introducing new vacuum street cleaners for Suva, Lautoka and Nandi, at a cost of $540,000, and developing waste management systems, Madam Speaker, at a cost of $4.2 million. Madam Speaker, we find that increased urbanization and more rural and semi-rural areas are now becoming part of the towns and cities that we live in. Madam Speaker, micro, small and medium enterprises. Madam Speaker, the government has consistently put its faith in the Fijian people to produce, to innovate and to strive to improve the situation. Fijian people are very hardworking, Madam Speaker, and resourceful people, and the government needs only to provide a level playing field, the right fiscal and economic incentives and an occasional boost, and they will respond with energy and optimism. We have done those things, and the Fijian people, Madam Speaker, have not been disappointed, nor have they disappointed us. The fact is, Madam Speaker, that grassroots entrepreneurship drives economic growth and employment all over the world, and Fiji is no exception. So government will continue to do all it can to foster the development of micro, small and medium enterprises. Madam Speaker, government's current support of MSMEs is currently delivered through different programs in various ministries and departments, including the Ministry of Agriculture, Rural and Maritime Development, Industry and Trade and Tourism, Fisheries and Forest, Women, Children, Poverty Alleviation. Madam Speaker, however, we are determined to strengthen the support to the MSME sector by combining all those efforts together. So, Madam Speaker, we are determined to strengthen our support for the sector by taking a robust, comprehensive and strategic approach to developing the sector. Government will establish a national MSME Council to be chaired by the Honourable Prime Minister, and a new MSE Central Coordinating Agency which could have board members such as the Governor of the Reserve Bank and various other people involved in the financial sector. The Council will provide policy direction to support the MSME sector, and the new agency will monitor and evaluate MSMEs and provide financing, training, mentoring, advisory support and business incubation, and also collect data and also support and evaluate data for the purposes of assessing new businesses. Help them to be tied in with the Fiji Development Bank. As mentioned in this Honourable House before, Madam Speaker, we are also carrying out a review of the Fiji Development Bank to ensure that it goes back to its roots and becomes a truly development bank. Madam Speaker, we will also use its unique position to give the MSMEs access to economies of scale which can be critical to their development. The new agency, Madam Speaker, will work with both the formal and informal sectors, and will work to empower informal operators and bring them fully into the mainstream economy. Some of this work is being done, but by different agencies as highlighted. In the future, it will be part of a comprehensive effort to build the MSME sector. Several programs will come under the umbrella of the Council and the new agency. We have allocated, Madam Speaker, $300,000 to carry out the scoping works and the regulatory framework for this umbrella body. Madam Speaker, on a separate note, the Small and Medium Enterprise Credit Guarantee Scheme, which gives MSMEs greater access to credit, by sharing the risk with lending institutions will continue. And this is channeled, government's funding is channeled through the Reserve Bank of Fiji, where we guarantee loans that are taken by these small businesses through the mainstream banks. Since the scheme began, Madam Speaker, in 2012, it has covered more than 1,350 loans, valued, Madam Speaker, at approximately $80.5 billion. This is an astonishing figure, Madam Speaker. It shows clearly how ordinary Fijians with ideas and ambition, which they have hungered for, and not for a handout, are able to perform well. Madam Speaker, but for their government to believe in them and invest in them. We are proud to be part of a government that has said yes to them, and they have said yes to us. Madam Speaker, the people have proven us right. In all of these loans that have been given out, Madam Speaker, the defaults out of the $80.5 million has only been $38,250. This isn't a banker, there isn't a banker in the world, Madam Speaker, who wouldn't accept this risk. So in the 2016-2017 budget, Madam Speaker, government has allocated $1.5 million to keep funding the scheme, and it is obviously a bargain for us. Madam Speaker, the Micro and Small Business Grant, which provides financing for entrepreneurs who wish to start a business or expand an existing small business, has assisted more than 5,853 applicants with a total budget of $5.5 million. The initial budget allocation was for $1 million, but this program, Madam Speaker, attracted so many applicants, more than 26,000 applicants, and we found an additional $4.5 million to meet this groundswell of demand. This is tremendous value for the taxpayer, but we will need to shift the focus in the fiscal year 2016-2017 to small businesses that have been severely affected by Cyclone Winston. We have concluded a thorough review of damage assessment reports and have allocated $6.4 million, Madam Speaker, to help these businesses rebound. And we have identified and approved 3,172 recipients. Madam Speaker, the Indian government has seen the value of this program and has just committed, only a couple of days ago, through an MOU, to provide an additional $4.7 million for the new recipients. Madam Speaker, we also remain committed to the Northern Development Project, which is focused specifically on MSMEs and vulnerable rural communities, and the Integrated Human Resource Development Program, which aims to boost small-scale economic activity among community groups through projects that generate sustainable income. The NDP has benefited more than 2,000 Fijians, and the IHRDP will encourage the residents of 19 communities to work together productively to produce a single commodity. For the 2016-2017 budget, Madam Speaker, a sum of $1.5 million has been allocated to the NDP. Encouraging business and investment, Madam Speaker. Government continues its commitment to export businesses in Fiji through the National Export Strategy. Many successful exporters can credit the NES for helping them to expand their businesses to overseas markets and create thousands of jobs for Fijians. This is not a subsidy, Madam Speaker, to businesses. It is an investment in Fijians to benefit all Fijians, and it helps create opportunity throughout the economy. Companies like Ben's Trading have benefited immensely from this, and they are now doing a wonderful job in being a major exporter of crops such as dalo. Tourism is the biggest sector of the economy, Madam Speaker, and the grant to Tourism Fiji will increase from $32 million to $36 million. Our reputation as a tourism destination has not suffered due to Cyclone Winston. Fiji is strong, and the people want to come here. This additional budgetary allocation will greatly assist Tourism Fiji to work with all its partners to secure and improve our market position. Government also needs to be creative to bring more people to Fiji without compromising our quality, without compromising our standard. And one way, Madam Speaker, which we are announcing today, is to eliminate the departure tax for visitors who stay in Fiji for less than 72 hours. So with the attractive routes such as which Fiji Airways now offers to LA, to Hong Kong, to Singapore, to Australia, to New Zealand, and various cities in those two countries, Madam Speaker, now of course we're flying to San Francisco, we will be able to package Australian, for example, who wants to go to LA, to fly via Fiji, spend 2 days without having to pay the departure tax, and Fiji Airways, of course, can partner with these travels like with many other hotels, Madam Speaker. So with the attractive routes, Madam Speaker, this will become even more attractive for visitors to come to Fiji for short stays. And when they do, Madam Speaker, of course, they will get cheaper tickets, attractive tickets, and Fiji Airways obviously is keen to package such trips. Madam Speaker, nonetheless, Madam Speaker, Winston was a wake-up call reminding us that our economy cannot rely on one or two sectors. Imagine, Madam Speaker, what might have happened if Winston had followed its earlier predicted course, ripping through Suva, the Nasinu corridor, where nearly 1/3 of our total population lives, and where a number of manufacturing plants are located, if it went along the same path, affecting all the major tourism areas like Nandi, like the Coral Coast. Our economy could have been completely wiped out. And we obviously, Madam Speaker, cannot let that happen. This is why we say that we are a vulnerable economy, where you have one climatic event that can set you back for decades. It is therefore, Madam Speaker, critical for government to ensure that we expand our economic base. We simply do not rely on just one or two sectors to contribute to the economy. Madam Speaker, as a result of that, of course, government is increasing its allocation to Investment Fiji to $2.2 million to encourage investment in new industries. Government will develop a modern services manufacturing park in the Western Division, with all infrastructure in place where investors, domestic and others, and preference will be given to domestic investors first, can begin operations immediately and start employing Fijians. We have allocated $500,000 to begin this project, and sites have already been identified in Rasa and Warambitia. Madam Speaker, we have nearly doubled funding for Film Fiji to $1.9 million, because every film or television program that is filmed here stimulates businesses, creates jobs, and promotes Fiji as a place to live, work, or visit. We are assisting ordinary businesses through the National Fijian Made by Fijian branding campaign, raising awareness of the quality of Fijian-made products and the importance of supporting Fijian businesses. $500,000, Madam Speaker, is allocated for this wonderful initiative. Madam Speaker, informed and empowered consumers are a vital part of the free market, and government has increased its support of the Fiji Commerce Commission to $2.5 million and the Consumer Council of Fiji to $1.3 million. Madam Speaker, one other way to help ordinary businesses and their customers is to eliminate the archaic, legally mandated limits on commercial hours for ordinary shops. They are arbitrary and out of date for today's modern Fiji and are a source of inconvenience for many people who cannot find enough hours in the day to manage work, home, family and other responsibilities and still take care of essential services. Businesses and citizens alike have pressed government to allow the market, and that means businesses and their customers, to determine when businesses can open their doors to customers 24 hours a day if they wish, if it makes business sense. We agree and we are happy to give the average working person more hours every week to supply the home, maintain the car, or take care of financial businesses. We also think, Madam Speaker, that visitors will also be tempted to buy more if it is more convenient for them to do so at hours that may be outside of the normative hours. This measure, Madam Speaker, is good for people, good for business, and good for jobs. It just makes sense. By repealing this archaic law, we will also provide greater legal protection to thousands of Fijians, Madam Speaker, who work as shop assistants in retail stores throughout Fiji. If one were to read this archaic law, Madam Speaker, one would be astounded. So, Madam Speaker, with the repeal of this law and the replacement of it with the new bill, it will not only create the opportunity for shops to stay longer, and we know many shops actually, Madam Speaker, do stay open illegally at the moment. There are shops we can go to and buy yongwana or buy Chinese lolly at 2 a.m. in the morning, but that's all illegal operations. This will now allow them to be legally operating. But, Madam Speaker, also, at the same time, the new law will set out the rights and privileges of workers prescribed in the ERP, in the Health and Safety Work Act, to apply to shop assistants and other workers employed in the retail sector. They do not have the specific coverage at the moment. It is also very interesting, Madam Speaker, the retail sector is one sector where we have an absence of unions. So government has stepped in to protect these workers by repealing this law and making sure that retail workers or workers who work in the retail sector as shop assistants, etc., are covered by the ERP and are covered by the Health and Safety Work Act. Madam Speaker, furthermore, the Honourable Minister for Local Government also, through the regulations that will be passed from tomorrow, will remove the very archaic law provisions pertaining to the number of car parks that is required for development. Technology has changed, the requirements have changed, so now in order to encourage the construction of modern commercial and industrial complexes, government will relax its requirements under the Town and Country Planning Act for car park space which will allow developers more flexibility to use land in the most logical and efficient manner for their building projects.